Greetings, Helldivers, and welcome back to RASH Tactics Episode 6. In today's episode, we are going to be going over a main mission objective, a data retrieval mission. But before we get started on that, I do just want to make you all aware that there has been a new automaton side objective added recently in the form of flying automatons. If you couldn't think the bots could get any worse, now they can fly. I have seen this a couple of times in the game. It's kicked my butt both times I've seen it, so I haven't been able to get any decent footage of it in order to make a tactics episode, but I am also looking at getting a group together in order to record that footage and get that objective completed so we can turn it into a tactics video in the near future. So keep an eye out for that one, which will be coming soon. So for this particular mission, it will be available to both the automaton and the terminid sides of the galaxy, so it doesn't really matter which enemy you're facing, this mission will always be available. It's also available on pretty much every single difficulty level. The only difficulty I haven't seen it on is the very first one. The only thing that really changes as the difficulty increases is that you get more sub-objectives to complete, usually in the form of extra data to retrieve or a power generator that you need to turn on before you can complete the main objective. And for the purposes of this video, the footage we have recorded is on hard difficulty, so there is only one sub-objective to complete. But one thing to keep in mind is that with this mission there will always be at least one sub-objective that needs completing first. This sub-objective requires you to go over to a human compound, which will usually have a few buildings. It will have a panel you need to activate. It might even have a radar tower in there as well. Once you've activated the panel, you'll have to enter a short code, wait for about 30 seconds whilst the panel downloads the data onto the super solid state drive. Once that's finished, you'll need to go over to a box to collect the solid state drive and then carry that over to the main objective. And that is probably the most awkward part about this mission. One player on your team will need to carry that objective all the way over. And whilst you're carrying it, you can only have a handheld weapon in your hands. So as far as I'm aware, it's mainly your pistols, and I think there is even a submachine gun that you can use that's one-handed, but you will only be able to use that whilst carrying the objective. But you should also be aware that you can always just drop the objective by changing the weapon. So what I usually do is I just switch to my main weapon in my main hand. It drops the objective on the floor, it leaves the marker there so you know where it is, you can kill whatever enemies are on their way, and then pick up the hard drive and continue moving. Once you've made your way over to the area of the main objective, it will be another human compound, and the player that's carrying the hard drive will be able to see a small white square on their screen, which is showing them the location of the box to deposit the hard drive. I would recommend doing that as soon as you can, so that player can get the use of their weapons and their stratagems back. But one thing to be aware of about the main objective and the area for the sub-objective is that it will always have a group of guards in there. The type of guards you get will be determined by what the difficulty level is, so on easier difficulties it'll probably just be a group of smaller bugs or bots, nothing too nasty, but on the higher difficulties you will have some pretty tough guards sat there. So usually before I approach the objectives I just throw in a couple of stratagems, like a couple of eagles or an orbital, just to clear the place out, kill off the rest, and then carry on with the objective. Once you have deposited the hard drive into the box, you will then need to go over to a panel and activate it. After entering a small code, you'll need to wait for the radar dish to raise into position, and then you'll have to realign it the same way that you do with the radar station side objective. Whilst the dish is rotating, you need to listen out for the panel, which will let out a small chime to let you know the dish is in the right position, or you can just have a second player watching it and letting you know when it's there. After activating the dish, you will then begin the data upload to the Super Earth mainframe, which takes about 60 seconds. It's a bit of a longer wait than most other objectives, so you'll have to defend yourselves whilst waiting. After it's finished the upload, you'll then need to initiate the data wipe, and once you've done that, the objective is completed and so is the mission. And then you're free to use whatever time remaining on the mission to complete any side objectives, clear out any factories, pick up any of the hidden stuff, any samples, anything like that, and then you're all done and dusted to get to your extraction. And that is everything for this particular mission. There really isn't much else I can tell you about it. I have recently completed one of these on level 8, which is one off the maximum, and the only things that changed was that we had 3 sub-objectives to complete. We had to carry over 2 hard drives instead of 1, and we also had to activate a power station before going over to the main objective to get it all working. But yeah, it's a pretty simple and straightforward mission to complete. If you want to play it safe with the group you're in on harder difficulties, you can go to each sub-objective one by one, but it will take up a bit more of your mission timer. Or if you're feeling confident with your group, you could have one person go off and grab one of the hard drives and run it over. You can make use of the stealth mechanics to avoid the patrols and any factories or bug nests there nearby. So it's not too difficult of a mission to complete. As long as you can clear out the guards in the objective areas, then you can pretty much do this one on your own. Like I said, I did this one on hard and didn't have too much difficulty doing it. I'm pretty certain I could do it on harder difficulties and it wouldn't be that tough. It just depends on the types of enemies you get on the map and also the side objectives. So if you're playing against the bots and you get a detector tower, you might want to be stealthing around that part if you want to remain incognito for most of it. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for this mission. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.